There's seats in
Welcome,
the
welcome.
front. There's seats in the front. Come on to the front.
Don't be shy. Hello, hello.
It's good to see people from so many different sectors. Hey, Vernie, Antoinette, Cynthia. Good to see you, Melanie, Latoya, Nicole. All right, Chris.
Oh, that's our newest team member. Hello, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Latusha.
All right. So what do you think, Jose? Do you want to wait a couple seconds before we kick it off?
I think we should get started. I think there was some very enthusiastic people here today. I think we should give them their money's worth.
All right. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our Spark Talk here at the Upswell Conference. Jose and I are extremely happy and feel privileged to be here to be able to present to you today at Upswell 2021. Wish we could have done this in person, but as you know, we've had to adapt to the world changing. And so here we are on this wonderful platform. My name is Tamaya Arell. I'm the Chief People and Equity Officer here at United Way Metro Chicago. And Jose Rico, go ahead and introduce yourself really quickly.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Jose Rico, Director of Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation, and also with United Way.
Great, great. So we're going to just jump right into our program and get started. I am here to speak about the DE&I work, the diversity, equity, inclusion work here at United Way, and to talk about how we've used racial healing circles to address systematic racism at our organization. So just to give you a little back history of where we've come as an organization, about 3 years ago, I've been with the organization about 3 years. We also got a new CEO around that same time. A decision was made that the organization was going to focus on equity, specifically racial equity. And I can tell you, being new to the organization and having a CEO come in and say that right out of the door, it was really refreshing. But of course, I was very cautious to see how we were going to do this and how it was going to work out. And so just want to talk a little bit about what we've done as an organization so far. When you think about the body of work, and especially dealing with equity, it's not an issue that you can tackle without being genuine. And so one thing that I'm really proud of is the fact that our organization took it seriously, and the commitment to focus on equity and educating our staff happened from the top. So from the leadership down, we had a commitment from our leadership team to make this a focus. From there, we decided to take steps to formalize our internal committee here at United Way. We had a very dedicated and enthusiastic team who wanted to make sure that they were a part of this transformation here at United Way. And so we took steps to formalize that committee and to put a lot of structure around it. I was named the senior lead of the committee, but also our CEO is also a member of our internal equity committee. And over the past couple years, our primary focus initially had been on education. And so we took the time to start to have those much needed discussions with our staff and provide that space and room for people to learn and people to grow. We meet monthly as a committee, and those meetings are open to everyone in the organization. I can tell you we have about a core group of members that do participate in those monthly meetings, but it is open to staff at all times. Initially, we started off with just holding those meetings and just having discussions. And before the civil unrest that happened last summer, I can tell you that we were ahead of the curve. May of the prior year, we decided to hold one of our monthly sessions, and we actually screened the movie 13th as an organization. And I remember doing that and talking to some peers about the fact that we had done that in our organization, and people were very surprised because not only did we screen the movie here in our office, in a conference room, open to all staff, we did also hold time and space for people to have discussion afterwards. And it was that at that moment that I knew that we were onto something, and we just needed to keep going in our journey in terms of educating our staff. Since then, we have done several different things as it relates to educating our staff. We have participated, which you'll hear about in a moment, in racial healing circles. And healing circles allow for space to have conversations that may not necessarily be focused on race, but focused on the humanity of people and understanding and learning about harm that has taken place, harm that they've experienced. And it's in that and in those conversations that you get to know one another and to gain a greater understanding of how others have struggled and how they need to heal from the harm that has happened to them. And so fast forward 2.5 years, and our committee is going strong. We have made great efforts to formalize and work on our work plan as a committee and as a part of our equity strategy. Our work plan is focused around 4 major pillars of work for our organization. They include our workforce, the workplace itself, the commerce and how we use our money, and community, and and how we use our influence as an organization in community in order to make sure that we are helping to dismantle a lot of the structural and systematic racist policies and processes that exist in Black and Brown communities. And so I'm very proud of the work that we've been able to do thus far. We've also taken strides to diversify our board. We've had recent additions to our board, which if you search on our website, you'll find a recent article about who now is a part of the United Way's board. We worked and partnered with United Way of Illinois recently on the 21-week equity challenge, which some of you may have participated in and had a chance to come along with us on that journey as well. And that and all of the work we're doing internally is really, really helping to drive us going forward. Our equity committee is going strong. We were just recently able to work with a newly formed subcommittee of our board, the equity committee, as a part of our board to help us draft and get approved an anti-racism statement for the organization. And if you're following the work of United Way, you'll hear more about that in the upcoming months. But we're super proud to be able to stand by what we believe in and stand against racism and hate. We want to make sure that we're putting equity in everything that we do, making sure that there is fair and equal distribution of resources, not only in the work that we do internally, but also externally in community. And we encourage other organizations to look at what we do. We're far from being, I would hesitate to call us experts, but we certainly were willing to buckle up and really focus on what needed to be done, allow for us to have those difficult conversations, be welcoming to others' points of view in order for us to learn from each other, And it's something that we feel as an organization that we're truly proud of. Jose, who is here with me today, has been my partner here at United Way in helping through a lot of the equity work. And primarily with those discussions, the racial healing circles had been a great part in the very beginning with helping us understand how to have those discussions with one another. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jose to talk a little bit more about racial healing circles and what they are and how they were very useful for us in our organization. Jose? Did I lose Jose?
I think we might have lost Jose, if you wouldn't mind, Tamaya.
Oh, wow. Well, of course, I can keep going until he has a chance to join us. So as Jose mentioned, he is connected with an organization, Truth, Racial Healing Transformation, which introduced us to racial healing circles. And as a part of this process, I can and proudly say that I became a facilitator to be able to conduct and host racial healing circles. And so when you think about what a racial healing circle is, some of you may have heard of something similar called a peace circle, where people come together, they share experiences, and they talk through, from their perspective, things that have hurt or harmed them. It's not a session where it's going to necessarily solve for the problem at the end, but it does allow an opportunity for someone to be heard. We feel that you learn and grow from experience, from hearing and experiencing someone else's perspective, and understanding how that person has been impacted by what has happened to them. And in those conversations, many people feel that they're able to have better empathy for another person, and to just focus on the humanity and building those authentic relationships with people. We've done them here with our organization, with our staff, but we've also participated and done them with some partner agencies as well. So Jose, I was just giving just a brief description of what healing circles are and how we've used them here at our organization. And I was just handing it over to you.
Great, great. Well, everyone, as you heard Dr. Christopher talk about earlier, that the racial healing circles are an incredible way and an incredible place to create that space. And so I just really would like to ask you all, as participants in some of these conversations in your organizations, and I've seen that some people have already started putting some of their responses on the chat. We'd love for you all to participate and get on the stage with us. And we'd love to know, how has your experience as a Black, Indigenous, Latinx person of color been affirmed while your organization has gone through this process? So if you have had a positive space, and if a space has been created for you in your organization, we'll love you for you to raise your hand, and we'll love for you to be able to share how that has happened, as a way to be able to share that story and hopefully encourage other people and give other people's ideas. You can also write it on the chat, but we'll love to be able to see if anybody wants to be able to do that, because what we also want to be able to hear from you is, how has your contributions, your experience, not only during the last 2 years that we have seen, there's been a lot of pain, and there's also been a lot of resilience, but also a lot of healing. And we'll love to learn from you all is how that experience has contributed to the co-creation of your racial equity strategy in your organization. So we'll love to hear any of those in your message, and we'll love to be able to see bring you here on the stage and hear how that has happened. Any volunteers to take the stage with us? All right. Letitia, we'd love for you to come up here and see how that has happened. Can we get Letitia up?
Hello.
Yes, you're on, Letitia. Go ahead. Letitia, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you so much. So, my name is Letitia Andre Doucette, and I am the owner of Catalyst Consulting. And when I was leading an equity initiative at the city of Rochester, emotional emancipation was a huge part, and racial healing was a huge part of that work. So, we were able to bring the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond to do a lot of trainings, as well as making sure that we had what are called emotional emancipation circles, which are for those of African descent, to really talk about the trauma of racism and have tools and resources. And that's some work that's still being done within the community today. We actually have a circle in like 30 minutes that I'll be leading. So that's how we've done this here in Rochester. And I'm just excited about the work that y'all are doing. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. Anybody else that would love to be able to share how their experience have helped co-create the racial equity strategy in your organization? Again, as a space where healing and recognition of our experience have really driven the strategy going forward. Anybody would like to raise their hand and just share? Because again, what we would love to be able to just put out there with you is, as Tamaya mentioned, the racial equity strategy that was created at United Way was powered by the experience of those of us that work there, and really geared to not only lift up that experience, but make it into a viable strategy with four pillars that not only can the organization implement, but that the board of directors of United Way of Metro Chicago is not only endorses, but is able to put on and is anti-racist statement. That is something that did not come from the top down. That is one of the big questions that a lot of organizations and people have about where do you start doing this work. And in our experience, you start in all the different directions. You start bottom up, where we are able to use strategies like racial healing circles, movies, education, just being able to do some book clubs, and then also take that strategy to the top, to the board of directors. And that is something that we really want to be able to just encourage individuals to do. There is no one right way to be able to have this journey. And so we are really, really excited to be able to present the many different ways in which we could be able to do this with you. So again, we'd love to be able to just open it up for one last time for any closing remarks from any of our participants or any closing remarks from Tamaya. Oh, and Janora put something incredibly important on here, is that being a person of color, in her case, being African American, in the corporate space is very different than being in a nonprofit space. And so, one of those things that we do have to recognize, as some of you have put on here in your feedback, is how we need to tailor those experiences not only to the people but also to the setting and the places that we're at. So thank you so much for that, Janora. Any closing remarks, Samaya, before we close our session?
No, Jose, thank you. I thank you for the folks who sent me chat messages. I have been frozen for a bit, but I do thank you for your participation and all of your comments. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. Hopefully you've able to take something away from what we've shared. If not, reach out to Jose and I. We're happy to further the conversation.